Hello and welcome to another episode of Grow, Transform, and Evolve, the podcast where we discuss all things personal and professional development. Enough negativity going on in the world. This is the place you come to for good vibes, positive information, and positive insights. And this show's no different. Episode 12 is called ACT, Alignment, Communication, and Teamwork. And our guest today will be Vice President of Business Development at Stanley Black Decker. A gentleman named Rob Newman, a good friend of mine, and actually a customer of mine. We did a great deal of work together at Stanley, and I owe a lot to Rob, but Rob's a smart guy and has a lot of great insights to share from a sales perspective, leadership perspective, team dynamic perspective as well. So we'll have a good chat here in a bit. But as always, I'm going to kick off talking about a quote of the day, kicking off with a quote of the day. And this one ties to a teamwork and alignment, a lot of what our topic's talking about today. And the quote is by Steve Maraboli, and it goes like this: be purposeful in your actions. Be mindful to keep your behavior in alignment with your goals. So is what you're doing, is your behavior connected to your vision, mission, value, and your goals? A lot of individuals and companies build those vision, mission, values, and goals, but they don't eat, drink, and sleep and live them, and their behaviors don't match them. And then they're surprised when things don't happen the way they had planned. And it's because the behaviors didn't match the goals. There was an alignment. That's what we're going to talk about today with Rob Newman. So just before I introduce Rob, let's get into his bio. Rob Newman is the Vice President of Business Development at Stanley Black Decker, leading the global cross-business development team. Cross-business is a group dedicated to extreme collaboration across every business unit's sales teams to deliver exceptional value to the customer and each other, leveraging the full portfolio from Stanley Black Decker. Rob has been working with this team since 2006. Rob started with Black Decker in 1999 and had various roles in sales, marketing, both calling on customers and leading sales teams. And the thing he didn't mention in his bio was his tremendous job leading the training and development role in Stanley Black Decker for several years. Rob resides in Annapolis, Maryland area with his family. He's an active volunteer and as a board member of the Girl Scouts of Central Maryland, vice president of the Severna Park Swim Association, and a certified stroke and turn swim official. Didn't know that one. We'll have to follow up on that one. And this one I love. I know Rob does this. He and his family are United States Navy Academy sponsor parents, offering a home away from home for midshipmen during their 4 years at the academy. Rob and I have talked about that. That's quite a thing he and his wife and family do, and we might talk about that too. In his spare time, Rob enjoys learning to golf, hike, camp, and most outdoor activities. And I think he has a thing for whiskey and cigars occasionally too. So Rob, good to see you, buddy.
That's right.
I guess you couldn't put them all in there. You're putting all your positive vices.
You got to enjoy life. Work hard, play hard kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly. I like that. Well, thanks for your time. I know you're a busy guy. As I said, listeners, I've known Rob for, it's embarrassing. What's it going on, 9 years now?
Yeah,
it's embarrassing because how fast it's gone.
Time does fly for sure.
Yeah, Rob, I had been attempting to call on Stanley Black Decker for years to no avail. A lot of yes, maybe, no's, we'll see, over the years. And finally, Rob took over the role and we were able to connect. And Rob brought me in and we did a lot of great work together at Stanley, still do. And I feel.
I've got Steve locked in for a team training in person finally again coming up in September I've got new hires globally. Coming into the States. So we've used Steve for quite a while. I'm quite happy.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that, Rob. And we'll get back to that current job because it's an important job at Stanley Black Decker. I think it's a very smart move by the company to create the department you now head. And we'll get into that in a bit. But tell us a little bit about your evolution from college into the corporate America. Your whole career has been with Stanley Black Decker or Black Decker, correct?
I had a brief hiatus. I had just under 3 years where I went into healthcare with Boston Scientific, and then kind of a consultant think tank. It wasn't my thing, and came back to SBD at the time, Black Decker, before the merger, and looked forward to a good career. But recruited out of college. Looked at a lot of different companies, and They were mostly consulting firms and things, recruiting heavily at my university. And, these guys showed up with yellow trucks and stud walls full of yellow tools. And it's like, this is different. Videos. And I was like, all right, let's go. So yeah, that was, 22 years ago, 22 and a half years ago that joined the company. And been slugging a lot of tools, and then joined a few other business units in the process, our industrial division and our security division, before moving into corporate a few years ago. Yeah.
Gotcha. Tell people what Stanley Black & Decker, you probably can't name all the divisions. I mean, there's so many of them. What are they all involved in? I probably worked with what is currently called Global Tools and Supplies. That's correct, right, Rob?
Yeah, Global Tools and Storage. Yep, you've worked with them, and you've done a little bit with our security division. Yeah, we have kind of three main business units, a fourth one kind of coming up. We're, $14.5 billion company. Most people, as Steve pointed out, would know us for Global Tools and Storage. DeWalt, Craftsman, Stanley, Black & Decker, Porter Cable, Bostitch. Very, very, well-known professional and household brands. We also have one of the world's largest security divisions, electronic security, automatic doors. Now your listeners are going to hate it. Every time they walk into a building and they see an automatic door, they're going to look for the Stanley sticker. So a lot of retailers, Walmart, Kohl's, Home Depot, Lowe's, we sell our tools through Home Depot and Lowe's. When you go through the front door, chances are it's a Stanley door as well. So kind of unique there. And then we have our industrial sector, which includes aerospace. Almost every Boeing in the air and an Airbus in the air has a company called Consolidated Aerospace Manufacturing. It's part of our company over the past couple of years now. So we're a diversified global industrial company, I think is the official tag.
Well, and you have a franchise under your business umbrella too, right? With Mac Tools.
That's right. Yeah. Mac Tools. Their go-to-market is different. Like I point out that, DeWalt and Craftsman are sold through independent distributors, sold through Home Depot, Lowe's. Mac Tools is sold through franchise distributors predominantly. So the trucks you see, big vans with the Mac Tools, those are franchisees. They own their truck, they own their business, and they have the right to sell Mac and some DeWalt product. Predominantly in the auto industry, auto dealers, auto body, small engine repair. That's theirs. Yeah. So we have Mac as part of our portfolio. Yeah, they're fantastic.
So your first job out of college, you were calling on Home Depot, Lowe's type accounts?
Yeah, my second job, I did Home Depot. Yeah, my first job, I went on to job sites in Boston. So for 21, 22-year-old, it was slugging tools on job sites, trying to convince contractors that we had a better product. And then, started out in the Home Depot as my first, full retail experience. And that's unique, right? It's changed over the years for those teams, but a lot of time spent crawling in and out of end caps and making sure displays look good, doing demos and events. So that was a good time.
So the first
learning experience. It wasn't always fun, but I realized this was a step in the career process.
Well, and that's something beautiful about Stanley Black & Decker. Stanley Black & Decker's old school. It's a similar background I grew up in consumer packaged goods, where you did entry-level jobs. You learned where the rubber meets the road, right? And that time, learning the job where the rubber meets the road at a job site or at a retailer prepares you for success in future jobs, correct, Rob? You probably still remember all those
100%.
Things, right?
We still have today. It's changed over the years a little bit. I've frankly gotten better over the years. But we have a sales and marketing development program under the Global Tools and Storage umbrella in the States and in Canada that, take folks that are, new career or young career, lots of training, leadership development training, sales training, negotiations. I know you've taught those courses in the past for us. You do several steps before you kind of branch out in your career. We also have it for other functions. We have the Stanley Leadership Program for, HR, finance, IT, supply chain, et cetera. So you really get a chance to start out at the ground level and build a career. I know a lot of folks today, can't envision themselves with the same company for a number of years. They want to bounce around, and that's okay too. What we found at Stanley Black & Decker, you can bounce around within one company and still have a wide variety, diverse experiences, diverse products, all under that, kind of diversified global, industrial umbrella. So if you want to go into something completely different, then, you're teed up at least to go into a different career. But, talent acquisition, talent development, we've got it all now these days. We've doubled in size over the past 10 years, and we're looking for more.
Yeah, good. So, any parents listening now whose kids are graduate from college, or kids listening who are graduate from college, Stanley Black & Decker is an excellent company to throw your resume to. You if you want to grow in an organization, be trained, have those diverse opportunities Rob's talking about. Stanley Black & Decker's your company. What would they do, Rob? Just go on the Stanley Black & Decker website and
yeah, we have a careers
job
landing page. There's a lot of things out on LinkedIn as well. If you know somebody, reach out to friends and family that you might know somebody that's part of the company. They can reach out to me. Always happy to connect folks to the right talent acquisition teams in the organization. And I always have somebody reaching out going, hey, my kid's about to graduate, or I'm looking for a career change, and it's always happy to connect and get folks engaged in our company. We're 100, as you pointed out, we're old school in many respects, 178-year-old company. But we also want to be known as one of the leading innovators of our time. Yeah. So you take a company that's been around since the 1840s, and also highly innovative company. So we look for all sorts. So
perfect. So let's get back to your career. So you started calling on job sites, then retailers, yep. Such as Home Depot and Lowe's. Then what was the next role? Still in sales, all sales.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, mostly in sales. I call them what we call our two-step accounts, which are like ACE, True Value, Do It Best. So a lot of these are lumber yards, mostly small businesses, and you really had to understand what motivates a small business owner. Some they had multi locations, some single location places that did a ton of business. Their primary business could have been in lumber or other hardware. Tools is not necessarily the highest margin product for them, but it creates a lot of excitement. So for me, the biggest challenge was really think about questioning and listening. Really take a step back and analyze their business and add value. I had plenty of stumbles, Steve. Yeah. I got thrown out of a distributor once. I made a mistake negotiating something early on, and it bit me in the end. And they pretty much told me to my face that I wasn't doing right by their business. Yeah. I learned quite a bit from that experience.
Absolutely.
I won a lot too, which is good, but I got my teeth kicked in. And had to try and fight for that business back. And you learn pretty quick, you can't just, show up and throw up, right? I think you've used that term yourself in training classes. You can't just show up, throw a deck on their table, say, here's a bunch of promos. What do you want to buy? You really got to take the time to understand their business, what's going on, get that feedback and be humble, be willing to take your licks, so to speak. And then, and then you're more likely to win more often.
So the key to being successful in sales, is that fair to say, is to be more consultative, really drive a dialogue 100%. And uncover.
Even if you're a transactional business, right? Even if you've got a, quote unquote commodity product, there's always an opportunity to be consultative and understand, because there's chances are there's somebody else behind you that's going to walk in that door selling something similar or the same kind of product. Yeah, you can always argue your brands are better, your product's better, features, benefits. Sure, anybody can argue that. But you're right, Steve. You've got to question. You got to listen to your customer. Understand what the industry is doing. Understand what their competitors may be doing. Then you can add value. Then you can be a true partner, and not just, hey, I'm the guy that signed in at the front desk. Got ushered back to the purchasing office. Yeah, I got a PO today. Was it as good as it could have been? Am I really adding value? We tend to high five when we think we've got a big sale, but what did we miss? Yeah. So take that time to really think through what your customer needs are.
Sure. It's funny. I always say we're in a fast-paced, high-tech, ever-evolving world. Change is hitting us faster than ever. Adversity striking us deeper. Decision-making time is getting shorter and shorter. Yet the simple skills such as question listening, uncovering customer needs, listening, those are still
objections.
Handling objections. Yeah, those base fundamentals are still important, if maybe not more important, because the fast-paced world we're in, people are moving 1,000 miles an hour, and I think it's putting stressors on people to step back and say, I need to listen first before I start selling what I think they need, because these business owners are stressed enough. It's tough being retailers. It's tough being a business nowadays, running on thin margins. So those people who can be consultative and understand their needs are going to get a point of differentiation. So, and I think that's what you did very well. So after your sales roles, what was the next thing? So logical sales progression.
Back to a field marketing role. I managed a team in the Midwest that called on contractors and the like, subcontractors. Went to Towson to do a field training role, product training. Did channel marketing. So I worked with our national industrial partners like Grainger, MSC, Fastenal, Whitecap, and developed, back to the kind of the basics of marketing, the 4 Ps of marketing. Yeah. What kind of line reviews, what products are best suited, what promotions work best. So I did that role right about the time we merged with the Stanley Works and became Stanley Black Decker. And then I was always interested in our training department in Towson, Maryland. They world-class product training, certainly sales training and the like. And an opportunity came up to join that team, and I jumped at it and was at what we call Stanley Black Decker University, SBDU. I did that for 3 years. That's where you and I crossed paths, and I brought you into the U and had you do some stuff with our SMDP program, doing negotiations and sales training, and also upper level kind of leadership and development training on buyer styles and communication skills. We're still using a lot of those techniques today for sure.
Back in that day, how were you uncovering what the needs of the organization was? Stanley's a huge organization. There's probably a multitude of training and development needs for the sales team and internal departments as well too. How did you really focus on what the needs were? How were you able to uncover the key things they needed to develop in their skills?
It's still sales. Even though there's a lot of people that will say whatever function they're in, hey, they're not in sales. That's, while on paper that may be true, you're still selling internally. You still have to listen to your internal customer. And in this case, it was our field sales teams, our sales leadership, and our HR teams and other functions that we brought into some of these leadership programs. It was questioning and listening for them. It was what are their needs, and also being proactive and being, as you pointed out earlier in the conversation, consultative, right? What they're saying is 100% critical, and you have to take that in, but also come with solutions and say, by the way, here are some things that we could bring to the table. Here are things we're thinking about from a leadership and development training. What do you think about this? What do you think about communication styles? What do you think about presentation skills? And test it out, right? Test the waters, try a few courses out with a partner like yourself and some others and see what kind of sticks. So that's been a lot of it at that time was understand the current needs. Having carried a sales bag, I think a lot of training and development teams are fantastic across other organizations. A lot of them come from the HR function, which they're fantastic at understanding organizational structure and the needs of some of their teams. But it's also great to have folks that did the role too, right? Have That's those right. in your wheelhouse. So if you have a training department run by HR, have sales folks if you're doing sales training. Have finance folks if you're doing finance training, et cetera.
That's right.
Yeah, almost everybody in our training department for product training and leadership and development had come up through field sales. So we understood the folks coming in. Hey, we did the same job, right? We understood. We won with customers. We also lost. Let's take what we lost. What didn't work? Let's fix those. Let's work together as an organization to do those things.
That's right. Rob actually even brought me in. The IT department was looking to enhance their sales skills. Correct, Rob? I mean,
they were challenged internally, right? We talked about internal customers, internal sales. They were struggling at the time to better communicate with leadership, better communicate with their internal customers on a variety of things. And, kind of the light bulb moment, I don't remember if you and I were catching up about a number of different things. I said, yeah, these IT folks are reaching out asking about, communication skills. And I was like, kind of light bulb between the two of us. So, well, why can't you translate a sales class, modify it? Obviously, it's still selling. They're still communicating. They're just doing it internally.
That's right.
And that effectiveness is gonna help them and help the organization as a whole. So, yeah, those skills are 100% transferable in any function of an organization.
Yeah,
and you pointed out, high touch, high tech, low touch. How do you, and they're IT, right? But how do you take any of those functions and flip it a little bit and go, you have to have interpersonal skills, whether it's on video, which we've had a lot of these past 15 months plus, right? And probably still will, or interpersonal communication. 100% critical. Any function you're in, you got to be able to communicate your message, even on email, short notes, a lot of mistranslations can happen across the board. So
that's right. Anyone selling an idea or a concept, it doesn't have to be just the widget. It's, an idea or concept. And I think conceptual selling is even more difficult than selling a widget, so to speak. People can touch, feel, and see the drill and the saw, but they might not be able to touch, see, and feel a concept that IT is trying to get across to the organization. So, selling, consulting on a concept is huge across the board with any organization, and companies need to look at it that way. It's not just that external customer that you may need to sell to, it's internal customers as well too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going back to your role as channel, you were a liaison between sales and marketing, or sales and marketing
and finance
and
supply chain. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you learn in that role, and how has that prepared you for? I gather to say that role prepared you a lot for what you're doing now too.
Yeah, no doubt. And thankfully, every role I've had is always a learning experience.
Yeah.
And you always take away as much as you possibly can from every possible interaction. Yeah, that role, it was extremely challenging. You get salespeople screaming at you, going, "I need better programs. I need promotions. My customer needs a discount." Right? You go back to negotiations, goes, "Well, everybody wants to sell on a discount. It's easier to sell."
That's right.
But it also, you want to drive volume. So you have that back and forth, and you really are kind of that middle of the sandwich of, well, finance can only do so much, and you're doing financial analytics. And that was really a great experience for me, because I had done a national account role, calling on a couple of large national retailers, and had to understand the finances a little bit better, help me prepare for that channel role, realizing, you can't just give the farm away, so to speak, right? You can't just drop on every tool and hope you win, because there are things that you got to pay for.
Yeah.
So that was extremely valuable to understand the finance perspective, and then going to the supply chain component, saying, okay, how far in advance do you need to plan for a particular promotion? You can't just say, I'm going to give, let's say, a 20% discount on these products. Well, do we have enough? Right?
Yeah.
If we're going to get a lift of volume off of having a promotion, we got to have the product to sell.
That's
right.
right.
You hear it all the time. You go back to I love the show Shark Tank. And one of the problems a lot of these entrepreneurs run into, they run out of stock. Now that's, for new businesses, that's not uncommon. They're getting their word out, they're getting their products out. You want to have that constant stream. We're no different as a large organization. If you're going to promote product, hopefully you've got enough stock to do it, and not over, right? You don't want to have, the promotion didn't hit, and you've got way too much in what we call the barn. You got way too much in the distribution centers. Now you're going to have to find a way to get that product moved even faster. So quite a balancing act. It was fun to see new product introductions, months and almost, years in advance, and then presenting those to some key customers. So it's great.
Were you responsible for forecasting too, or is that the sales rep, or you worked hand in hand? Because the topic today is alignment. Okay. Yeah. The topic today is
it's working together with the sales folks. Understanding what history, and we had some analytical tools to kind of help with that. What historically could work based on product, and then lead times. Manufactured in the States versus overseas. Okay, how long is that going to take based on a particular promotion? My colleagues, my counterparts that were doing big national retailers like Home Depot and Lowe's. They had forecasts that were way in advance, especially when you get to the holiday times. My group was a little bit tighter, more like 3 to 6 months in advance. You really get a chance to see how much planning goes into, particular promotions. You can't just throw up something on a screen and, throw a slide deck on a customer's desk and hope everything aligns. You got whole teams behind you to help organize it and worry about the financing and the supply chain and, the right product mix. That's the other key thing too. Not every customer needs every SKU.
Yeah. With that said too, I'm sure you had to deal with different personality types of people too, not only different interests of objectives or what a department's role and responsibility were, but you had the people dynamics in that too. Was that a tough bridge to gap?
Great learning experiences in that. Yeah, absolutely. Well, your own direct management, your senior leadership that's in the mix there. Finance, different personalities, different behavior styles, potentially than supply chain, and different than your sales folks. And even, again, you got a lot of nuances there. Not every sales folk is a hard charging, type A in your face. And not every finance person is, sitting back and, analyzing every single number. They are, but you have to understand that, I guess the best word to put is understand your audience. And I didn't always do the greatest thing there. I certainly had challenges, especially on the finance side, because I'm just not inherently phenomenal at numbers, right? I had spreadsheets, I had an analytical tool that we used, but finance, thankfully, I had great partners, and they helped me understand the rights and wrongs, and how to tweak things to make them better. So,
but the key is you stretched yourself. You stretched yourself, and that's for any young person listening, or even a veteran in an organization who doesn't want to try new things. The beautiful thing about what Stanley Black Decker does, and what Rob experienced through that, was they put you in different roles and responsibilities, even ones that were uncomfortable. Because to grow in that organization, you have to understand the different nuances and dynamics of various departments, how they interact, what their objectives are. The title is alignment, communication, and teamwork. There may be different departments that maybe have different roles and responsibilities, different personality types, but they all should be aligned to the overarching goals and objectives, vision, mission, and values of Stanley Black Decker. Giving that broad experience that Rob has allows him to see how all these departments maybe work in many ways siloed, but you need to bring them all together to function as well, one oiled machine towards the ultimate goal of Stanley. Is that fair to say, Rob?
No, you're spot on, Steve. Yeah, from an alignment standpoint, hopefully you've got, when we do have great leadership, that you have an overarching mission that you understand. Going downstream and bottom back up is everybody on that same page. And yes, you've got silos and expertise, leverage that expertise. But yeah, I would tell, anybody that's especially, early career to mid career, go wide experience wise. Yeah. You could, there's no reason you can't specialize in something along the way, or specialize something, as you move up in your career, but gain as much wide experience as you can. You may realize the thing you started out in is not your favorite, or you're not as good at as you might have thought you would be, and you want to take a different direction. Well, you wouldn't necessarily know that unless you tried something else out. And as you pointed out earlier, stretch yourself. Don't be afraid to fail. I tell my team today, and my team are senior level folks. They're all experienced sales folks who have been around the block, so to speak. And we say, fail fast. Yeah. Try a new idea, fail fast, learn from it, and go try something new. And that's part of it, is understanding how you can fail quickly, learn, adapt, and then come back and still meet your goals and objectives.
That's right. I like saying perceived failures or perceived shortcomings, because it's only perceived if you look at it as a failure or a shortcoming. If you've learned a valuable lesson that bodes well for you down the pike, then it's not a failure. It's a learning that you can use down the pike. And what's nice about Rob's leadership here, folks, is he's giving his people permission to fail. You're saying it's okay to take a risk. It's okay to try something. If something doesn't go right, I'm not going to ridicule you for it. We're going to learn from that and take it forward. Is that right, Rob?
Yeah. Now, my team, we're a small group, housed under the corporate umbrella for Stanley Black Decker. And every one of my teammates is expected to come with ideas, expected to be collaborative. And if they come with an idea, they're likely going to be the ones running it, right? If they come up with, say, hey, I want to try this, or we should try it as a team, they're now going to own it, take extreme ownership, and then run with it, with all the support of the whole team, not just, running blind. But if they fail, let's analyze it quickly. Let's figure it out. Let's make tweaks along the way too, right? Sometimes things aren't a complete failure. There's just elements that may have not worked as well as they could have. And then you move beyond it. No, 100%. Yeah, that I like that term, use permission to fail. We see a lot of leaders heading in that direction, where you have a culture of success, a culture of winning. The way you get there is through learning through mistakes, learning through failure points. And one of the best ways is fail, but fail fast, learn it quick. Don't drag, you see it often where somebody's like, well, I thought this would work. I'm just going to keep trying and trying and trying and trying. Yeah. There's sometimes you just got to let go. Yeah, that's tough. Exactly. That's tough. You've taken ownership of something. You don't want it to fail. Exactly. But if you do it quickly, learn, adapt, and then go from there. You're in much better shape.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, football, I played football for 13 years and, our games were either Friday night or Saturday. Sunday or Monday, we didn't, our main practice was reviewing film or reviewing what we did in that previous game, the pluses and the minuses. What did we learn? What did we do well? What did we not do so well? What can we learn? What can we work on? So, in athletics, it's almost a common understood thing that let's take this learning, this experience, the win or loss, and let's learn from it so we can become better. And more organizations and companies need to look at things that way. That
you take it as part of preparation and planning too.
That's right.
Right. When you were, it's a lot of sports teams, including football. Well, you see, especially in the NFL, you see like the Sunday games or what have you. Yeah, you might catch glimpses on the news of their practices. You don't see the hours and hours and hours they spend watching film. Baseball players doing scouting reports, right? What is this batter going to do when I throw this pitch at them? You just see a guy or gal up on the mound and throwing a fastball. Why are they doing it? Because they took a lot of time to study. They're not just up there because they have a great arm or whatever their particular skill is. They took the time, and their coaches did, to prepare, to review, plan. Okay, and to your point, hey, if you didn't win that game, or there were elements of you should have won more, right? You missed a few touchdowns, what have you. You still won, but it was an ugly W, so to speak. How do you go and adjust? Yeah. There's a lot to it versus the physical aspect of the conditioning of the body. Conditioning of the mind is key.
Well, tell us, now that we're in a good segue here, tell us your favorite quote about planning. I hope you know where I'm leading you. Now that we're talking about planning, I stole this quote from Rob. I heard this years ago. I use it on almost all my workshops when I talk about planning. Do you know what quote I'm talking about?
I hope I do. Yeah, I think now this has been attributed to Abe Lincoln. I mean, any quote attributed to Abe Lincoln is usually going to be pretty solid. Yeah. So now again, I don't know if it's historically verified, but it works. Let's put it that way.
Amen.
And Abe Lincoln is attributed as saying, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 sharpening my axe.
That's right.
A lot of people would pick up an axe and start whacking away at that tree.
That's right.
And preparation, planning, understanding your tools, your resources, right? Is an axe the right tool?
That's right.
In this case, sharpening it effectively, getting prepared, it makes that process easier. I enjoy that one. I know you've used it frequently.
Oh yeah.
And I impart that to other folks of, did you prepare for this meeting? What did you do to get ready for this? What do I need to prepare for? What are my notes and understanding leading into it, whether it's an internal conversation or certainly customer facing, that we're well ready for it.
Yeah. So again, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 6 sharpening my axe. So what's that say, folks? Plan, prepare, discover. If you want to be good at sales, or if you want to be good at selling an idea or a concept, spend the upfront time studying and analyzing. Going back to what Rob was saying about baseball, should I throw the fastball, the curveball? Those teams know that a specific batter, when it's a 3-2 count, is going to tend to do X, Y, and Z. So I need to throw this certain pitch. It's all that work up front that allows them to know what pitches to throw, what the pitcher is going to throw from the batter's perspective. So, doing that upfront work, it's fairly intuitive in sports, and many times it's not as intuitive in the workplace, and it needs.
Yeah, and you can leverage your resources, right? Chances are in the company you're in, they have resources that are probably underutilized quite frequently, and leverage your networks as well. If you're preparing for a customer visit, what information can you gather? Do you have other folks that called on that customer, non-competitors that call on that customer that may have information for you, industry news, or, reach internally and find out what you can in advance. That makes life a heck of a lot easier if you're leveraging your networks.
That's right.
Every resource available to you. Take advantage of it.
So tell us about your new role. Actually not your new role. It's been through 2016. What are you doing now, and why is it so important to the organization? I love the department Stanley has created with you as the head. I think it's brilliant. I think I don't want to give any competitive advantage secrets or anything here, but it's a very smart thing your company's doing. And why don't you share a little bit about what you can share?
Yeah, interesting enough, we tried to find other companies that do something similar, and I've only found a couple that actually do it.
Wow.
And the idea is we call it cross business development. We've had several names in the past. When we launched this under the leadership of Kyle Gordon, who's now running our sales team for our electronic security division. He handed the reins over to me a few years ago. And the idea is that extreme collaboration. We've got sales folks across a wide array of businesses calling on similar customers, different decision makers, certainly not always the same decision maker, but the same customer overarching. How do we leverage that warm introduction and that feel good that they have with one of our brands and one of our businesses to then bring in others? So how do we get organic incremental growth through existing customers, right? Every salesperson is typically going to try to sell more. You first go to your existing customer base. Can they buy more from me? Can they buy additional services or products? And then you expand out from there. No matter what that conversation is, am I expanding my business to new areas? Well, why cold call when you can leverage internal resources, in this case, my team of cross business development, to say, hey, those customers already have a touch point through another part of our Stanley Black Decker business. So let's call up the sales folks. Let's have an engagement. Let's figure out who are the folks you're calling on. Are they the same? Are they different? Can they give you a warm intro to that key decision maker? And that's part of preparation and planning, is to think first who may already be calling on that customer, whether it's a certain location or headquarters or what have you, and start to get after it. So we measure ourselves based on that organic growth. So we do have a kind of a sales target, and then we measure it based on interaction and culture change. So a lot of sales folks, they get, within a sales team, they want to put their head down and just do their own job, what's in it for me kind of mentality. And that there's an okay part of that. But if they want to truly add value to their customer and grow their own business, they'll think of other parts of Stanley that can add value and bring in a colleague. And then it certainly gives them a chance to talk about something else. If you're selling tools,
that's right,
and you've sold a lot of tools to a customer, that's great. You can approach them and say, hey, I've got to follow up with you about these products. By the way, a colleague of mine wanted to talk to you about their service that they have. I think it would add value to your business. That's a warm intro, warm handoff, and the company grows as a whole because of that. Certainly, as we grow as a company, we've got acquisitions. We've had a few large acquisitions over the years. We've got a large one coming probably by the end of the year in the outdoor product space. So those conversations are only going to continue to grow as to how we work together, not only in certain regions, but globally. Company headquartered in the States, a large company likely has offices and operations in other parts of the world. How do we get to our colleagues in those parts so they can win as well?
So you're trying to help Stanley be a one-stop shop solution for an external customer. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and absolutely. In many respects, we want to be at least what I call the right of first refusal. I'd want every salesperson for their customer to call them first and ask, is this something you do? And for the answer to be yes, whether that's them directly, that salesperson, or to say, it's not me, but it's a colleague, or use those networks. And it's, hey, our company doesn't happen to do that, but I think I know somebody that does.
Okay.
And be able to still be a value add. Because chances are, if the customer's not calling you first, they could be calling a competitor and having greater value coming out of your competitor, even if that competitor doesn't sell whatever that product or solution is. So we want every salesperson to have the mentality of, you don't have to have the answer off the tip of your tongue. You can tell your customer, I'm not sure, but let me find out for you.
Right.
Go back, use my team as a resource and say, hey, is this something we sell or do? Leverage the hive mind and those internal networks, and then they can go back to their customer with an answer. And no matter what that answer is, chances are they're able to add value in some fashion.
Gotcha. So there's a big hospital system, hypothetically, in Tampa being built. A general contractor wins the job. You want to leverage the resources that Stanley Black & Decker already has, either with a general contractor or potentially the developers of that hospital system, to use our tools, use our security systems, use the other brands, solutions that you offer. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, a great example. I've actually had the opportunity to work with a few health systems in one of the biggest ones in the Tampa area. First, we want to have the relationship with the hospital, the health system, because they're the ones hiring the contractor. They can give a warm intro to the contractor and then say, okay, are they self-performing? Are they doing concrete work, for instance? Who are the subcontractors they're bringing on? Once the hospital, the tower, the expansion is built, what's going in there? Is there automatic doors, our ICU doors? Is it, our electronic security systems? Is it our asset tracking, temperature monitoring, condition monitoring? Any number of things. When they do the facilities maintenance, our tools that were used to build the building, now the facilities maintenance department's using it in our industrial storage solutions throughout the hospital. So we want to have the entire vertical from the conception all the way through to operation.
That's right. And that's why we're talking about alignment, communication, and teamwork. The entire organization, Stanley Black Decker, is aligned to be that one-stop shop solution for developmental needs, basically. So that alignment, communication,
we have a long way to go, but we've had some really good wins there.
No, I think the fact that you're even thinking this way, alignment, communication, teamwork is a big part of my business now. I focus a lot on it because so many companies are not aligned, or they may say they're aligned, but when you trickle down into the actual organization, the different departments, they're not aligned. It's all siloed. And I gotta say that's most companies. So the fact you've created a department to push that, I think, is massive in and of itself, because alignment, I think, is a key point of differentiation for any organization, because so many companies are not aligned. Simple as that.
And it's okay to have some silos, and to use that, that analogy, we always talk about silos. Think of a silo with some extra windows, right? Some of our business units, the way they go to market, the way they do their products, they do need to have their own little world, 100%. However, if they've got windows into other parts of the business and they can reach out and be able to communicate more effectively and align, then you can win more business than just your little pocket. Not only for yourself, but also we call it the win-win-win.
Yeah.
The primary seller wins more business. They're seen as a more valued partner. A new business from Stanley wins, and the customer wins because they're getting more solutions without having to go out and do massive bidding or have to call 30 different people to get an answer. They can try to come to us, and we try to align and get the right thing.
Is your main customer internal or external, or a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. It really depends on our situation. A lot of what my team does is internal customers, internal communication. We do a lot of external as well. My team is responsible for our B2B engagements with our sports marketing partners, for instance. So our partners at Joe Gibbs Racing, Coletta Motorsports, which is drag racing. We have 6 MLB teams, FC Barcelona, one of the world's most popular soccer teams. So we work with those teams and they're kind of a customer in many respects. Yes, we pay them too because of sponsorships, but they're customers in a respect because we want to sell to their operations, but we also want to look at their other partners that they align with and work with them. Great example, you see, the Joe Gibbs Racing cars out on a NASCAR track, most Sundays, look at the logos on those cars. Ours is on there typically, but it's all the other logos on there. Toyota. Okay. How do we align with Toyota and sell solutions to Toyota? How do we sell to FedEx or, other businesses that are on those cars?
Yeah. Now, does your specific team have a vision, mission, and statement, or you follow basically Stanley's corporate trying to drive that vision, mission, and values? Yeah,
that's a good question. We don't. Yeah, funny enough, we've had a few kind of mottos and tags, in the past, we use a few one-liners like one team. Have a one team mentality. That while we're a collection of numerous people, that you walk in thinking of the Stanley Black Decker mission. But yeah, your quote at the beginning, before you brought me in from the waiting room, was about purpose, right? And our purpose is for those who make the world, and each business has their part of for those who make the world, for those who make the world safer. For instance, on security, for those who make the world more accessible for automatic doors, for those who make the world with tools. So we're aligned to that overarching mission. And I think, we talked about it earlier a little bit. Senior leadership needs to set the tone in many respects and set the vision. And thankfully, we've got amazing leadership at Stanley Black Decker who do that and do it regularly. They don't just communicate it once; they communicate it on a regular basis, and it's splashed everywhere. I've got a dual monitor here, and my other monitor is blank, but I still have a background. And right on there is the company logo and for those who make the world. Right. So it's breathed throughout the organization and culturally, in things that we do. So my team is aligned to the overall corporate mission. And we also align, we talked about internal customers. What are the needs of a particular business unit? Overall security or electronic security or the team in Denver, Colorado? What are their needs? How do we align to them? How do other businesses help support each other?
And that vision, mission, values, that vision statement for those who make the world, that's it for those who.
That's for Stanley Black Decker. That's our purpose. That's our corporate purpose.
And that is beautiful because it decouples yourself from, people think of you as the widget builders, the drills, the saws, the tools, the hammers, which you do. But that purpose is something bigger than that. It speaks to something bigger. The tools, the widgets, the drills and saws are part of what help us do that. The security is what helps us do that. So it's I think a beautiful purpose. And again, Rob's group is very influential in driving that purpose across all those divisions, right, Rob?
Yeah, we love doing it. We love interacting. We interact with our employee resource groups and our communications teams, our sports marketing teams, as I mentioned, our government relations and community teams. I mean, we're trying to be a resource across the board, even procurement. We want to bring customers of Stanley Black Decker who buy our products and services, give them access to our own procurement. So you have true B2B opportunities. So we love it. We love breathing the message and kind of that bleeding the black and yellow of the Stanley Black & Decker colors has always been a big thing for us.
What's the biggest skill set you've been able to accumulate through the years that is helping you in this current role now? Is it leadership? Is it communication? What would that be? Yeah,
I mean, I tend to think of leadership as not necessarily being forced, that it I hate to say it just kind of happens, because that belies the fact that there's a lot of effort behind it.
That's right.
But I think it's having the right mindset and having a team that you can work well together with, right? That bring diversity, and diversity is widespread, right? It's not just gender, it's not just background, it's thought. And we want people, and I'm thankfully I've been able to build out a team that we're extremely collaborative, because people bring different ideas, different perspectives. No idea is bad until you try it and fail and try something else. Right? That's kind of a part of it. Communication is key. The thing I always still struggle with a lot, and I still build up on, is that active listening, is taking the time to listen to what the other person or people are saying, absorb it, and then be able to come up with a cogent response. A lot of times you want to jump with an answer, right? It's like, oh, I know the solution, or I know what you're trying to get at, and you cut the customer off. Well, I hate it when it happens to me, when somebody cuts me off.
That's right.
So I think it's key to take that time to listen, question, clarify, and then you're able to formulate a response and test the waters, right? We do that in sales training quite a bit. Soft closing is sometimes the term, right? You test the waters a little bit. If you're wrong, hey, realign, figure it back out, come back to the right thing. If they have an objection, internal or external customer, understand that objection. Where's it coming from? My team at our early stages, and we still face it in some cases, sales folks saying, no, I've got my world. I'm too busy. I got to go hit my quota. Leave me alone. We heard plenty of it, right? And it's, hey, we're here to add value, bring resources, support your business. You listen to that, you understand it, you recommunicate something, maybe the message wasn't clear. We take ownership in how we communicate ourselves and what we do. And we've changed our message occasionally to adjust to the needs of a sales leader or an individual seller out in the field.
Like I say in my workshops, you've probably heard me say that having dialogues, not monologues, right? Having a two-way conversation. Absolutely. Yep. So let's get in some great information, Rob, for the listeners. Let's get in some rapid fire wisdom. Any favorite books that you have?
I've got a couple that I think about often. One is called The Boys in the Boat, about a rowing team in the 1936 Olympics. Talk about teamwork, alignment, communication. Faced a lot of adversity to come together in advance of a major triumph, and the trials and tribulations they had. That was recommended to me by one of my leaders a number of years ago, and truly enjoyed that book, The Boys in the Boat. And it's kind of timeless in many respects, and it's certainly based on history. It's a nonfiction of sorts.
Who's the author of that?
You know what? I've got it in my cabinet.
Well, people could look that up.
Yeah, look it up. The Boys in the Boat. Because I've passed this out a few times, but there you go. Nice, Boys in the Boat.
Daniel James Brown.
So perfect. Daniel James Brown. Yeah, that's. I've handed this to a few of my teammates to use in the past. The other one I don't have in my bookshelf because I've lent it out is Extreme Ownership, written by two Navy SEAL commanders. Certainly throughout their Navy SEAL career, they were deployed in Iraq during the throes of that conflict. So they translate a lot of sports analogies, a lot of military analogies don't necessarily translate well to the business world, or they force the connection. the authors, the two Navy SEAL commanders did an amazing job of actually connecting it to the business world, because they have their own business consulting firm now after they left the Navy. So they translate, hey, what did they face in special operations, and what did they face in their one of their significant deployments in Iraq, and what did they face when they were interacting with a customer, and how the two speak to each other.
Nice,
so it's not contrived, it's not forced, but their core message of extreme ownership is leaders look in the mirror first. What did you do right or wrong first, versus pointing fingers?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
If you can see what you did first, take ownership, raise your hand and say, let me take this on. Let me take responsibility. You'll see downstream and upstream, I think, some significant benefits. So
no doubt.
I like to preach it. I try to take extreme ownership myself.
Yeah.
And same with my team, is to say, hey, what did we do wrong? Like, if our message on cross business isn't resonating with a customer, isn't resonating internally. Why is that? Let's look at ourselves first, not say, well, they just don't get it.
Right.
What does that do? That doesn't do anything. It doesn't help us.
Right.
It doesn't help the other person either. So it's that mentality of, look in the mirror, look at yourself first, take ownership, and then adjust, align, communicate, go from there.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. Love it. We talked about your favorite quote. What's an important developmental skill you'd recommend anyone should have?
Active listening. I mentioned it as something I've struggled with, because I love to communicate. I love to get out. I love to, preach our message, and, whatever I'm selling at the time, I always wanted to lay it all out there. Excitement would overcome the need of understanding the customer first, and understanding, hearing what they're saying, not just letting it pass by. Talking over people. I've had that struggle in my personal life too.
We all do. I do myself. I teach consultative selling, and I still struggle myself.
Yeah. So that's been a skill: questioning, listening, that active listening of absorbing the information, taking good quality notes, whether that's mental, if you're good at that, or digital notes or hand notes, what have you. I think is important.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with handwriting things, typing things, because it slows dialogue.
I've gone back and forth to these, iPads, and now I use something. This is something for your audience, Steve. I use Rocketbook, so it's the best of both worlds. It's kind of like a dry erase almost. So I can take regular hand notes and then scan it with my phone through an app, and then it does some transcription. The transcription is depends on your handwriting. But it'll, and then I have a digital copy. I have a PDF of
What's
my
it
notes.
called again?
Rocketbook.
Okay.
My wife
that's my
biggest
takeaway.
She's using it. She's using it in her medical practice, too. She can scan it and put it into medical files, and not have to type it all back out. That was her struggle of, I can't type fast enough, or the noise of a keyboard while I'm with, especially telemedicine in some of her cases, taking paper notes, like writing it out, and then you can scan it, and now you're in better shape. So I like it, because I do like taking some quick handwritten notes.
Well, I think a couple things. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because it slows the dialogue down. Number one, you're not rushing. It slows the dialogue down. And I think number two, the key decision maker, the other person, sees that you are taking interest. You are writing this down, what you discussed. And thirdly, it's going to ensure you're on the same page, because you can repeat what you've heard and verify whether what you heard is in alignment, which is our topic today.
I don't think I've been in a meeting if I've said, hey, do you mind if I take a few notes, where they've been like, no, please don't. We're like, sure, take notes. And then obviously, to your point, if you're taking information, saying, let me make sure I understand you correctly, and you refer back to your notes.
That's right.
I think it'd be extremely rare where somebody would be frustrated by that. They would probably be like, okay, they're listening to me. They're absorbing the information. They're clarifying if there's some miscommunication or misunderstanding.
That's right.
Repeating it back, and, in a summary, it kind of goes back to sales 101 in many respects, from a communication standpoint, and then building on that. Yeah.
Well, again, I'd gather to say 99% of the other people calling on that person are not taking notes. So that shows a point of differentiation for you, and your willingness to care, listen. I think it's a great.
Refer back to them on your next meeting.
Exactly.
Hey, Steve, the last time we caught up, XYZ.
Bingo.
Oh, okay, this person is truly listening, understanding my business, cares about me, cares about my business. It usually resonates pretty well. At any kind of behavioral style, I would think, if somebody's communicating to you effectively, you understand that, you see it. Yeah.
That's right. Again, the word alignment. And the last one, what's your hobbies? I mentioned a few in your bio. Any others you want to mention?
Yeah, besides whiskey, bourbon, and cigars, yeah. Those are some vices, but some nice
He
ones too.
enjoys good food too, folks. We've had some
I
good
do,
dinners
yeah,
at
yeah.
River
And
Thames
COVID
and
is I'm
Malta.
trying to do the outdoor activities to balance the food and whiskey and cigars. Yeah, I started to really kind of take up golf. Was something that, a little bit pre-COVID, but especially, when you're allowed to be outside and you can easily distance from people safely. I started to get a little better at it. I always kind of blew it off in my professional career for the past 20 odd years. It was like, I'd go once a year on a charity thing and would be horrible at it, but I wasn't really playing for my own score. It was a joint score.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm getting into it. So I took lessons. I'm in, in my 40s, mid 40s. I took lessons, took 15 lessons from a pro, and got my equipment aligned, and work with, go play with folks who are the same mind, that we're not on the PGA, we're having fun, but we want to get better.
That's right.
So yeah, I know it's a bit cliche for a salesperson, especially any business, to say they play golf, but I've enjoyed it because I love getting outside and get a little exercise in the mix too. So
I like it too. It settles that mind down if you allow it to. My mind goes 8,000 miles an hour.
That's a good point. I'm a kind of a high rush person. I'm impatient.
Yeah.
Part of the problem with active listening, I'm impatient. I want to get my word out, or but yeah, golf is you have to be patient. You have to line up your shot. You can't just swing fast. You got to take the time. That's helped me kind of think a little bit more about, don't just rush. And golf kind of aligns a little bit to that message of you take your time, think, prepare a little bit better, prepare in advance, prepare while you're getting ready to swing away.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Good area to end this with a nice, relaxing discussion of golf, whiskey, and cigars. I love it. But listen, you're a busy guy, Rob. I appreciate your time. I love your insights. Like I said, I've known Rob for 9 years. We've done some great stuff together, and we'll continue to do even more. And I wanted to get him on this show to impart his knowledge. Again, the topic alignment, communication, and teamwork is huge, I think, for any organization. And Rob is a key cog in doing that for the entire organization of Stanley Black Decker. So I valued his insights and wanted him to get in here. So Rob, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you again here soon. We had a steak a few weeks ago. Hopefully we'll be able to do another one here soon. But,
thanks again, Steve. Love to. Thank you very much for the opportunity to yammer on about some fun stuff. Appreciate it very much.
Excellent. No, thank you. Thank you. And welcome everybody to episode 12 of Grow, Transform, and Evolve, the podcast where we
click like and subscribe.
Absolutely. Yeah, dude, so I know, I never do that tagline, but yeah, you can watch this on YouTube. You can listen on just about every venue: Spotify, iTunes, Audible, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. You can get, I don't really talk about our distribution points, but it's really everywhere out there. Just Google Steve Gavatorta and you'll find my podcasts out there. Again, it's the podcast where we discuss all things personal and professional development, all good vibes. There's enough negativity in the world. We want good stuff. And that's why we want people to stop by here and listen to great guys with great insights like Rob and the other